Mike.
I'm Brad.
And this is Ministry Chemistry.
Good. Can you say it faster?
Here we go.
Welcome to Ministry Chemistry. This is episode 5, starring your hosts, me, Renee.
Do I get a starring role?
Yeah, well, there's only 3 of us right now, so yes.
I don't feel like a
I'm the
star.
undercard.
It's like that episode of The Voice where there's like 3 people singing instead of 1, and it's like a trio. That just happened, right? A few weeks ago.
One voice.
But
One
3
voice.
people. Wasn't it 3 people?
Harmonization.
I don't watch. Would you give them your name so they know who you are?
I'm Mike still.
And Brad.
I love that we duplicate it from the intro. It just makes me so happy. Today on Ministry Chemistry, we are talking about, what are we talking about? We are talking about building a team that talks and listens, or for those who aren't in charge of necessarily a team, being an influencer of influencees. And we've been talking about safe spaces and the work of the Holy Spirit in the past couple weeks, and really just how then we lead others to be people who listen and talk openly and share and tune into the important things that there are to tune into. So my first question today, it's a good one. And it goes to Mike. Sorry, Brad.
Hey.
Mike, why don't you like the phrase safe spaces? It kind of has nothing to do with the topic. I've just been meaning to ask for a couple weeks, and I keep forgetting.
Actually.
Oh, wait, here it is.
I knew this question was coming.
should've.
My explanation does pertain to the topic at hand.
Here he goes. Let's see.
So, it does have a political reason of why I don't
I'm okay
like
with
the
that.
phrase
Okay.
safe spaces, and it's because it's become connected with places where free speech and open conversation and the interchange of ideas is not allowed. So safe spaces, politically speaking, is a place where I'm going to be in a space with only like-minded people who I know think and believe exactly like I do. And nothing good comes of that.
See, I don't make that connection. I think of safe spaces as literally, this is a safe space.
Well, the whole safe spaces thing has popped up in the last couple years on college campuses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Safe spaces
Yeah.
where I don't have to hear alternative ideas.
Well, we know this. A few weeks ago in the Methodist Church, right, there was a huge decision made, and there's a lot of articles and things around that. And I think what I heard when I was listening to different conversations and debates and discussions was, if you don't agree with me, you're not safe. From both sides, right? And so, to your point, safety only means I can express myself without disagreement, and I can express myself and hold my ideas without anyone holding a differing view that might either threaten or overshadow or negate what I want to hold as truth.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
That's fair.
So I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I still use the phrase safe spaces?
No. Well, I mean, we used it quite a bit a couple weeks ago.
I know, a lot.
On technically the first episode.
So when you're
So it's fine because it was a different context. We were talking about creating safe spaces for kids and people that we care about. That's totally different.
Yeah, and we're leaders of teams. We're leaders of people, and I wouldn't say that's an overlord kind of thing because it can sound like that. I don't mean it to. I just mean like we're
subject yourself to me.
we're responsible for, in hopes, guiding and shepherding in some ways, and I think many of our listeners are too, or they have people in their lives that they influence. So what does it mean to help others be people who are safe for others? People who listen to others well.
You have to model. You have to model it. If you want that from other people, you have to be that for them as well. It has to go hand in hand. Excuse me. What does it look like? Oh my goodness. We have to. Please help.
Well,
I've gotten myself into a circular conversation by myself. That's a scary place to be.
well, while Brad is considering his answer, to me, this is the primary place where that vulnerability discussion applies.
Yeah.
Because to me, like the best way I've found just from experience in creating those spaces is by being vulnerable, And basically, in doing that, you're telling a person, I am trusting you with my vulnerability.
My story.
And through that, I'm inviting you to trust me with yours.
Can someone who disagrees with me, can someone who disagrees with you, be a safe person?
Yes,
They should be. Why wouldn't they be?
they can be.
What does it look like to disagree and still be safe? Still be
This.
and I guess well, and I guess we need to define safe. Safe to me is you can always come and talk to me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I might not always agree with what you're doing or what you're saying, but I'm always someone who will listen and love you no matter what. But that's my definition of what it means to be safe. So I think you can disagree and be safe, but can you? Do you think teenagers believe that they can be disagreed with and they're still talking to a safe person or someone that loves them?
It depends on how you respond. You can disagree without it.
You don't say, well, that was a stupid answer. It's a dumb idea.
You
Don't do
didn't
that.
really mean that,
I didn't know
right?
there were still idiots like you that existed. Come here.
Let me pet your head.
Don't do that. Maybe we should just do the whole episode on things not to do. How to
We got
not
that
be
covered.
a safe person. It's good. All the things we think in our head but don't do out loud. Man, they were lucky I didn't do that.
Yeah. Bless their heart.
Bless all of our Southern listeners. We do love you. Bless our hearts for you listening.
Brad had an idea. And
I'm
you-
sorry, Brad.
I
Go.
have
Please
no
don't lose
earthly
it.
idea where I was headed
Oh,
there.
that's really upsetting.
Yeah. Wow.
I was hoping. So when we're building a team, let's shift it a little bit from listening, talking to. What validity do you place on things like personality profiling, strength finders, learning your Enneagram type?
Oh, my God. I knew it was coming.
It was
No,
coming.
It was coming.
It's a piece of the puzzle. It's not the whole puzzle. We'll get to that in a few weeks.
It'll
If
be
you're-
a 4-hour
if you're
episode.
in a denomination that drinks, I dare you to take a shot every time Renee says Enneagram on this podcast.
Wow.
We will be. You won't understand a word we're saying by the
You
end.
can't say we. You're not in a denomination that drinks.
True story.
Uh-oh. Anyway, what validity do y'all give to... I know you can't see it, and I apologize for that, but Brad's face is all puzzled right now. Nazarenes don't drink, do they?
Not supposed to.
Okay, there it is. Anyway, moving on.
I'm just going to say no.
Right. Okay, the validity of using tests and assessments and basically self-awareness raisers to better your team as individuals and then as a cohesive unit. What validity do you two give to that, to those kind of things?
I've never used them.
But you were self-profiling at NYWC,
What's NYWC?
National Youth Workers Convention.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
okay.
Which one came out faster? The acronym or the actual phrase? Never mind.
You guys want to test it
I
right
love-
now?
no, I love
we've tested
acronyms.
it. We've tested
This
it.
is-
We've already tested it.
I love
Anyway,
acronyms, but for people who don't know, they don't know. So
Brad has struggled to find thought, and every time he does find it,
you
we
interrupt
yeah.
him. I
we
know. I don't know if it's a plural
have stepped
pronoun,
all over
but
it. Sorry.
My
friend.
thoughts
Develop
You've
your
not
thoughts.
used
do not
them.
matter.
You've not used them in a team setting.
I
However,
have not used them in a team setting because more times than not, at least in my experience within ministry, you don't have a lot of options. You don't have a lot of people that want to invest their life into other people. And especially teens. So while you hope that they will be an integral part of the team and fill a certain role, they have certain God-given gifts and talents that that can be used within a team setting, but they might not be the best addition to your personal team.
So in that regard, you are going to basically, I don't even want to say make a decision, but accept someone's offering to be on the team based more on their willingness to be a part of the team than their what they can give as a part of the team.
Sometimes that's a
Okay.
necessity.
So if you're in a corporation and you're hiring,
Different altogether.
absolutely it is. But here's the question. It's not about willingness. Of course, I want the job, so you know that doesn't mean I get the job. But I know business owners who hire based on connection with an individual more than the competence, believing the competence can be taught.
Mm-hmm.
The connection cannot be.
We in my flight department, culture basically trumps everything.
Mm-hmm.
Your resume is important, and obviously your experience, which is portrayed on your resume, kind of spells out some like competency, but it's ultimately, do you fit the culture of this place? And that's why there's a 4 interview process, and the last interview was just going out to dinner. Literally no like
Questions
technical
to ask.
or HR type questions. I mean, I think my boss asked me, what are some of your hobbies? What do you like to do in your downtime? But like from the moment you walk in that restaurant, you're being interviewed.
Sure.
How do you treat the hostess?
Yeah.
Do you say thank you to the waitress when she fills your glass of water? It's all part of it, and it's simply a matter of, are you a nice person that I could go out of town with and hang out in some strange city for 5 days and not want to kill by the end of it?
Yeah, we know you can fly a plane.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. That's their mentality.
So how does that make your work environment
Oh, it's great.
and
It's
colleagues?
great.
Do you enjoy it? Do you look forward to?
Yeah. I mean, well, our boss has taken a lot of pride in kind of weeding out and rebuilding the culture. From the moment he's taken some more responsibility. Ultimately, he's the boss now, but yeah, he takes a lot of pride in like having built the culture and maintaining that culture and how each person contributes to that culture. I heard William Vanderbloemen speak at a LEAP conference, and he was talking about this, and it applied to churches and business culture.
For those that don't know, William Vanderbloemen runs one of the top search companies in the country.
Right.
If not I don't know if it's international, but
And it's literally called Vanderbloemen.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting why they named it that, but anyway, that's another story.
Okay.
But he said culture trumps competence every time. And he was talking about just that. You can teach competence.
That's right.
You can't teach culture.
So when it comes back to helping people be safe people for others, is safety a competence, or is it a culture? Is it a connection? Is it a core something you have to have within you?
It's probably a little both.
Is it a little of both?
Sure. It's kind of, I mean, to me, you simplify the question of, does vulnerability come natural or is it learned? Is it a learned behavior?
Same deal.
It's both.
Yeah, it's both.
Yeah.
Yeah. For some people, like we talked about us being awesome in that regard, and it. But I mean,
Sorry,
it does. It has. I think it has come more naturally, and maybe that's a personality profile thing. But for some people, it's a struggle to be vulnerable.
So what do we say to someone who feels stuck either on a team or in the workplace or maybe even in their family, and doesn't feel like they can influence the culture and doesn't feel like anyone around them is wanting to influence it in the same way as they would want?
Communicate.
Yeah, it's
Seriously. Whenever you've done this to both of us, we've done it to each other, but whenever someone complains to me, I always ask, have you talked about it with the people that you're involved with? Like, if work is piling up on your desk and it's overwhelming you, and you haven't had a conversation with your boss about, this is overwhelming me, that's a you problem.
And if you're in jeopardy of getting fired for having the conversation?
Like, it's just, that's when you have to weigh risk versus reward. And we all do that every single day.
So we have young adults and teenagers who listen to this. And so similarly, if they have an issue with a teacher, a coach, a youth minister, a leader, a peer,
Yeah.
is it the same advice? Talk about it, bring it out into the light, say it.
If the information's not out there, you can't deal with it.
Mm.
The only one that's dealing with it is the one that has that problem. So there's no way for a resolution to happen if it's not in the light of day.
So one of the things I would respond to that, this is for teens and parents alike. Do not, as a parent, do not solve your kids' problems
No.
for them. As a teen, do not just like, it's okay if your family is your outlet. I get that, but don't let that be your only outlet, and don't depend on someone else to solve your problems for you.
Mm.
Like, I'm sure, my kids are one day, you Brad, you may be getting this already, but complaining about a problem at school or a problem with a teacher. Sure, I want to be an outlet. I want to have that conversation, but I want to say,
And an
okay,
advocate.
you need to go talk to them. And if that backfires on you, I will go to bat for you. I got your back.
Yeah.
But you need to have that conversation yourself.
So what's the difference between being an advocate and being an enabler?
Doing it for them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Well, we
no,
need
you have this problem. Let me go take care of this.
Have you heard the new term lawnmower parent?
no.
So this is something that, have you heard this,
I
Brad?
have.
Yeah, so this is something that came to light recently, and the article gave a great example of a dad whose kid had forgotten her water bottle at home.
Okay.
So the dad left work, went home, got the water bottle, took it to school, waited for his daughter to be able to come to the office, get the water bottle so that she could go on with the rest of her day, because that was important. So they were talking the difference. We all know the term helicopter parent. They were talking about lawnmower parents, literally mow down any obstacles in their kid's path.
Yep.
And man, that is gonna pay some unhealthy, negative dividends
Sure.
down the road for sure.
They're still living in your basement at 45.
Yeah, or they're suing you because you're trying to kick them out of your basement.
Right.
Oh.
That's a legit law.
Yeah, I
lawsuit.
saw that.
Anyway.
I've heard the term
It's not
submarine
legit,
parent.
but
Have you heard the term
I
submarine
don't know
parent?
that one. That's a new one.
Ooh, it's really good. So I heard this mom say it, that she kind of flies under the radar, under the surface. You're not probably going to notice this as a parent, but if you do something to provoke harm or instigate, just something not okay and negative onto her kids,
She's
she will
flooding the tubes.
rise above the surface. Yeah, she will throw those torpedoes your way, and you won't even see it coming. And I was like, well, that's a great phrase. Submarine parent.
Is that good though?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it can be. I think it can be good for a kid to see their parent stick up for them and defend them. And that's different than doing everything for them. We're talking about situations and instances of real conflict or bullying or, real struggle and strife. That's not to say they can't stick up and defend themselves.
Yeah.
But I think there's something to be said for a kid to say, someone has my back.
Yeah.
Because we'd want our kids to have someone else's back if they got into a situation.
See, I think I want to be. I'm trying to think of an analogy. I want to be like the reinforcement parent, or in hockey terminology, I want to be the fifth line parent.
Mm.
Why do we have to have something that goes before parent? Why can't you just be a parent?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Dang.
We just
Okay,
struck a
I
nerve
quit.
with Brad. I
I
know,
quit.
right? Go, Brad, go.
Mike is walking
I
off the stage now.
It's so funny because in our society today, nobody wants to be labeled, but we have so many labels for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't understand. If you want to be a parent, be a parent. There's no adjective that needs to go with
Yeah.
that.
Parent means present.
Yes.
What about Christian parent? Is that okay?
No.
He's right. No. You can be a Christian and you can be a parent. But I'm okay with saying no. Because then what, you have non-Christian parents?
Yeah.
Well, what does that even mean?
It
They
means
just don't know
you are a
Jesus.
parent. You produced a child, but you don't follow Jesus.
Okay, then you're
I
a
feel like I should
non-Christian
have to explain
who's
that
also
to you.
a parent.
I feel like that should you should just.
Because I think it insinuates there's a Christian way of parenting and there's a non-Christian way of parenting.
Is there not?
I think there's a Christian way of doing life and teaching others how to do life. And if you're a parent, then that applies to how you affect your kids.
AKA Christian parenting.
No, it's parenting as a Christian. And then there's parenting as a
Egg,
non-Christian.
chicken.
Which means you might not lay, you might not weigh grace and mercy and justice
said
in
lay.
the same way.
Yeah.
I did instead of weigh. I know.
Well, we've gotten into parenting a lot.
We sure
but I mean,
have.
but I think it does apply.
It
I mean,
does.
a
Because you
family-
as a parent want to be a safe person. You as a parent clearly have people that you're influencing.
Well, and a family's a team.
That's right.
Yeah. And I'm gonna look out for my team and the health of my team, and our kids. I mean, they're, we have young kids, but we're already teaching them in subliminal ways that they have no clue what that is, like team building. Like for instance, this morning my son was sick. He wasn't feeling well, but we sat down for breakfast, and he was like, "I don't want to eat," and I'm like, "Okay, that's fine. You don't have to eat, but you're gonna sit at the table
Sure.
because this is a team." So we sit together. I do that at winter retreat, and our kids hate it. I'm like, "Breakfast is at 8:30," and they're like, "Well, we're not hungry. I don't want to eat." And I'm like, "Okay, that's great. Breakfast is at 8:30 because we're a team."
Right. Same team.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're in this together, for better or for worse. We're in this together.
When I think so, applying that in all different contexts, I was in a conversation a few weeks ago that was very tense with a team that I'm working with. And, the thing I walked away from feeling so discouraged by is I'm on their side. I'm on this team's side. I do some consulting work, and I'm for them. I'm literally working for them. And yet the way that conversation went and some of the, phrases said felt very, as almost as if I was an enemy. Not an enemy, that's too hard. An adversary to the cause, an adversary to the process, a hindrance to where we as a group were trying to go. And I just wanted to say, and I didn't at the time, I went, hey, we're same team. Yeah. And eventually I got the opportunity to say that in a private conversation that didn't call the person out. But I am for you. I am for this. And at the end of the day, when we're not seeing eye to eye or disagreeing, we need to remember, though, we have the same end goal in mind.
Right.
We are same team. And I think that can make all the difference when trying to figure out, are you a safe person or not for someone to talk with? If you start with, hey, I know we don't see eye to eye on this, but I am still for you. Period. End of discussion. That opens doors of conversation and trust that might stay closed unless you explicitly call it out. Just as a thought. And bringing it back to the self-awareness raising.
Yeah. I was going to say that combativeness is definitely
a trait.
A lack of self-awareness.
Right. Absolutely.
That's where that stems from.
And so when we think about team composition, and maybe not so much in the family, but when we think about coworkers or colleagues or volunteer leaders, there are certain personality types, certain, take a shot, Enneagram types. There are certain strengths in your strength finders, that are more combative than others, that are more pacifist than others, that won't say things as easily because they want to avoid conflict versus...
She's pointing at me.
Challenge it. Challenge it, and I'll point at Mike, who's not afraid to. I don't think he welcomes challenge, but he doesn't shy away from it.
Well, it's interesting. I hate controversy, but I hate festering more.
Ooh, I hate that word, festering.
Yeah.
I think of an open wound. You're welcome, everybody.
Yeah.
If you're eating.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Who's eating and listening to a podcast? And if
So-
you are, thank you. Thank you for eating and listening to a podcast.
Having coffee with Jesus.
Just to interject something real quick for anyone who leads a team, who's in that role, one of the challenges I've found, you're talking about letting people know we're on the same team.
Yes.
I'm in your corner. It's really hard when you have a situation where all you want to do is boot the person from the team.
Yeah.
But you have to let them know that you're in their corner.
Yeah.
Right.
Man, that's a tough balance to strike. You've been there. We've all been there.
Sure.
Done that.
Well, because then it becomes, and Brad hit on this early in this episode, it's not about what we're about or where we're going. It's about how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And the how becomes such a point of passion. And we close our fists around the approach must be this, the style must be this, the ways in which I'm doing this are right and potentially the only right way. That's where I'm like, you don't have to be here then.
Well, one of the questions I've tried to ask in the past when I've dealt with situations like that is do you contribute to the team and the environment in some way, whatever that is, you know? And B is what you contribute. Does what you contribute outweigh what you take away from the team and not being a cohesive member of the team?
And would you say the answers to those questions are culture driven? Like, so I don't know if there's a right or wrong to that. Maybe you contribute more than you get out of it. And maybe for some, they get more out of it than they contribute. And as long as the answer to those questions are okay in the culture that you're in, you're okay. Is that fair to say?
Well, for me, asking those questions answers the question of, am I going to be on your corner, or am I going to say maybe you would fit better on a different team?
Sure.
So if I can answer on the pro side of that, if the pro side is heavier, meaning you contribute a lot to this team, we butt heads from time to time, but you contribute a lot to this team, then I have no problem being in your corner, because the team is bigger than me or you or any one individual.
That's it.
But if our butting heads is a distraction from this team moving forward, then something's got to give. And if I'm in charge of the team, it's you.
You're the one that has to give.
Yeah.
Which brings me to our last two questions today. I was working with a church recently, and we talked about a consumer mentality and asked the question, do you feel like you have a consumer congregation? Where the question is more is, what can I get out of it versus what can I give? And I think when we think about teams and what we're trying to build, those two questions are vitally important to figure out in an individual. Are you looking at what you can give to a team or what you can get from a team? Not that you couldn't get something from a team or from being a part of a movement or an organization or a business or whatever the cause might be. I hope you do. But what can you give should be just as big, if not a bigger question, right?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure. You approached it individually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is harder to determine, because it takes more individuals to determine the mindset of individuals. Does that make sense?
Versus as a team, you go in as a leader and say, hey, we're going to ask the question, what can we do versus what can we get? Or what can we give versus what can we get? As a team, that's our mantra? Is that what you're thinking?
I'm just thinking in a let's say a church context. You know, a lead pastor's probably not going to know the individual mindset of every person in his congregation. Even if you're at a smaller church like mine, it's just impossible. But he can know the individual mindset of his top 5 leaders, and they can know the individual mindset of the 5 leaders that serve under them in their individual ministries, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
It takes more. It's a word called discipleship.
He used the D word.
I know.
But that's where
word.
that's where that comes out. That's where that comes
and
out.
It's
That-
not restricted to the church.
No, it's
No.
not. No, it's not.
Right.
I mean, I'm just using that for the context that we serve in.
Sure.
But it's not restricted to the church. But that's where those mindsets come out, and that's where they can be moved
Absolutely.
in one
So
direction or the
Outside of the church context, we'd probably say mentorship.
other. Yeah.
right.
More accepted on
Yeah.
outside the church wall.
So be it mentorship or discipleship, today we hope that you're pondering where are the places where you're a part of a team or an influencer of a team? How are you influencing those teams? Do you base your culture more around connection or around competence? And what are the self-awareness tools and resources that you use or might need to be using in your places? For today's Ministry Chemistry, I'm Renee.
I'm Mike.
And Brad.
We'll see you next time.